So what do you like to do for fun? Shut up real quick. So I've been single my whole life, and it's got so bad, I've even started to go on dates with myself, and I've got no idea why. So tell me a bit about you. I thought I told you to be quiet. Now I've tried all the dating apps, and none of them seem to work, so I thought I'd switch up the approach a bit and make the worst dating profile imaginable to see if I get any more matches. Now to find out what makes a bad dating profile, I'm going to need to do some research. Now I could go out and ask the public what makes a horrible dating profile, but since I'm socially awkward and quite frankly terrified of women, I think I'll do my own research. After days of carrying out the necessary research, I finally had all the information I needed to make the worst profile Hinge has ever seen. Right, so I've conducted all my research, I've read all the literature and I've watched all the videos, and I now have all of the relevant information to make what will be, quite frankly, the worst Hinge profile the app has ever seen. Like, I'd be surprised if this profile gets even one match. Like, it is going to be horrid. Now, I haven't actually updated the profile yet, because, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous, because I won't lie to you guys, I do use Hinge, I use it pretty regularly. I mean, I use it pretty unsuccessfully, to be honest. It is actually quite depressing how unsuccessfully I use it. Now, what if this absolute horror show of a profile I'm going to make gets more matches than my main account? I mean, if that happens, then I'm going to need to have a serious look at myself, because this account, it's going to be horrid. Right, so I think now it's time just to stop stalling and just update this Hinge profile and just get it over with. Right, so let's start by updating the photos, and from what I read online, it's never a good idea on Hinge to have like a spontaneous photo. You want all your photos to be planned out, doing a nice pose somewhere cool, looking good, to draw the ladies in nice and early. So I thought, what worse a way to start this profile? Let's just take a selfie now. Let's just pull up the camera. Look at that, nice selfie now. And that will be what will open up the profile. And I don't think you can get much worse of an opener than that, to be honest. I mean, that is absolutely horror. Right, so I've gone through my camera roll and I've sort of picked out a selection of what I think are probably the worst pictures and videos of me, just to really drive home how bad this Hinge profile is going to be. I mean, this image just speaks for itself. I mean, look at it. It's horrid. That doesn't even need explaining. There is no way that any person seeing that photo as they're scrolling through Hinge sees that and likes it. It is horror. I feel like a good prompt for this will just be, guess the backstory of this photo. Because there is absolutely no backstory to this photo that can explain why I'm looking like that. I mean, that is absolutely horrid. I mean, it's creepy, if anything, realistically. Up next, let's throw a video in there. I know it's always good on a Hinge profile to, show something sporty, show you're a bit athletic, you've got hobbies, you like to do things. And what worse way to show that on this Hinge profile than just to show my absolutely sensational golfing ability. I mean, that technique on the golf, it is superb. I mean, if that doesn't get matches, then I don't know what will, because that is horror. It's bad. It just is. And it's always good to have like an animal picture on your profile, just to show you're an animal man, girls like that. Girls like it if you're into animals. So this photo, it can't stick around. Digby, mate, you've got to go. And I feel like this is just a good image to update it. I mean, it's just, again, it's weird, it's unplanned. Why am I dressed up as an Australian? Who knows? It's just a bad photo. I feel like my vulnerable side is a good prompt for this, because a girl reading that, they're just going to get the ick. They just are. I mean, there is absolutely nothing attractive about this photo or this prompt. I feel like I should leave one photo on there. It's just one photo of my normal profile, just to potentially maybe get a few matches, I don't want to get 0 matches, because that would absolutely, that would destroy my self-esteem, realistically. So let's leave one photo on there in hopes that maybe, it might help me get 1 or 2 matches. And finally, one last photo just to throw on here. Me sleeping on a train, and with the prompt, it was all fun and games until, because, it shows I'm a bit of a daredevil, I sleep on the train, I'm a risk taker. Bit of a daredevil if you ask me. God, this profile's bad. So the photo's done, it's time to move on to the prompts, and this is where I've got to get a little bit creative, I've got to use my brain a bit. What prompts would a girl see on a Hinge profile and feel physically sick and just keep swiping? When I think about what a girl doesn't want from a guy, it's someone who's self-centered and obsessed with themselves. So I feel like a horrible prompt I could go for is, the hallmark of a good relationship is being with someone who is comfortable being second best, as when you are with me, I'm always number one. And I feel like, you know, I'll just chuck an emoji on the end there. Little sunglasses emoji just to really drive home, because if that doesn't give a girl a nick, then I don't know what will. Now for the next prompt, thinking back to the sort of videos I watched when I was researching this about what will give girls the ick. You know, it's the basic lines. I don't want to see the stuff they see on everyone's profile, so I thought I'd just go for a really stereotypical line next of, what's the biggest risk I've ever taken? Making this dating profile. Goofy. And again, you know, I'll just throw a little another emoji in there, a little monkey covering up the eyes, you know. Because again, if that doesn't make a girl feel physically sick and want to uninstall Hinge, then I don't know what will, because that is vile. That is disgusting. That makes me feel sick reading that. That is absolutely horrid. Oh, I've got to do one more prompt. Let's think, what can I do? Oh, that's it. Now thinking about it, what is one person that every girl probably in the world universally hates? And that is probably Andrew Tate. So for the last prompt, let's just mention how I'm convinced that Andrew Tate makes very valid points. I mean, he doesn't, but for the profile, it's good, you know, because that is horrid. You know, and just to really drive home just how self-centered and obsessed I am with myself, and just to top off what is, quite frankly, the worst Hinge profile the app has ever seen, let's go for my BFF's take on why you should date me. Now, I will get my best friend to do this, a little review of me, but to be honest, they can't comprehend just how great I am. Like, I'm elite. There is no one else you're going to find on this app better than me, so you might as well just like this profile, because this is where Hinge peaks for you. Now, I will get my best friend to do this, a little review of me, but to be honest, they can't comprehend just how great I am. Like, I'm elite. There is no one else you're going to find on this app better than me, so you might as well just like this profile, because this is where Hinge peaks for you. Oh, that is horrid. That is so bad. Oh, I seem like such a dick. Oh, but it's what I'm going for. So, and for the job, I did put aspiring entrepreneur, because, you know, when I think, what is the worst job that a guy can say they has? It's got to be aspiring entrepreneur, because you're not even an entrepreneur yet. You haven't even done a preneur yet. You're just thinking about it. You're effectively unemployed. It's a fancy way of saying you're unemployed. And that's probably the worst job you can put on Hinge. So I've whacked that on the profile. I've also set my location as Manchester, because there is absolutely no way in hell I can have anyone that I know finding this profile. Like, if this profile ends up in the lads group chat, I am finished. Like, there is no recovering from that. So I've just got to make sure there's no way they ever see this, unless they're watching this video. And if they are, you're right, lads, do you mind subscribing, you know, boosting that number a little bit? Cheers. Right, so that's the profile done. All that's left now is to click done. It's saved. And now let's leave this for a week and come back and see how many matches I've got. So for the next week, all I did was like profiles. Whether I was walking, at work, in bed, or even on the toilet, I was liking Hinge profiles. So it's been a week of me constantly liking profiles, trying to match with people on Hinge, trying to make that absolute disaster class of a Hinge profile, quite frankly, somewhat of a success. And to my surprise, that absolute horror show of a profile got matches. And it didn't just get 1 or 2 matches, it got a few. It got a decent amount. So in 1 week, the worst Hinge profile I could possibly make got 7 matches. Now, to be honest, that might even be more successful than my normal Hinge. I'm joking. It's not. My normal Hinge is so much more successful. Oh, it's not. It's not. That horror show of a Hinge account was more successful than my main Hinge account. That strikes home. That's a tough one to take. And, you know, I couldn't just let these 7 matches go to waste. So I did what any guy would do. And I sent out a few messages, you know, seeing if any of these women could, you know, potentially be the one. Maybe there was a spark there. Maybe there was something that could get going. So I sent out a few matches, you know, keeping up the whole theme of just having the worst profile, sending out the absolute worst messages I can think of. And a few of them were successful. To my surprise, a few of them were successful. So the first message this profile got was from Maria. And you know, she liked that little spontaneous selfie I put on, you know, the one that opened up my profile. Now from what I read online, that selfie shouldn't have worked, but it got likes. Maybe I should chuck one of them on my main Hinge account, because this account certainly got more likes than that account. I'm not salty about that at all. Not at all. Maria started off the conversation by saying, hey. And you know, I thought, what better way to get the conversation going, you know, to let Maria know that I'm a funny guy, I'm a nice guy, you know, draw her in, and doing a nice little pun with her name. So I said, Maria, more like, I want to marry ya. To which she said, oh, cute, you okay? And I didn't want to let her know what I was doing, you know, too soon. So I just said, yeah, not bad. What's a pretty girl like you doing on here? You know, just a standard message, getting the conversation going. She said, oh, thank you. I'm looking for a relationship. What about you? And I felt like this was a perfect time to drive home how bad this profile is. So I just said, it's hard to tie down a stud like me. Well, almost a stud. I've got the STD. All I need is you. Funnily enough, she didn't reply to that one. Yeah, the conversation died real quick after that message. And to be honest, I don't blame her. That was disgusting. Now Georgie here, it said on her profile that she was after a funny guy, you know, someone who's got jokes. And you know, I like to think I've got a few jokes up my sleeve, you know. I'm no Stephen Tries, but I like to think I've got a few jokes that I can pull out every now and then. So I thought I'd go with a classic. I just sent her this joke. So my granddad's sort of one dream in life was to build a car. He was obsessed with cars. He loved cars. He's put all of his life into building a car, dedicated his whole life, many years and decades into building this car that he loved. But by the time it was finally done, he was sort of too old to drive it, you know. It would have been silly for a man of his age to drive this car he'd built himself. So he looked for someone to sort of drive it for him, and he spent ages looking, and no one would drive this car for him because, you know, he made it from scratch. So he put in all of these years of hard work, and he had nothing to show for it. Like, you know, no one to show for it. You get it? Yeah, funnily enough, she didn't respond to that. Maybe it was a little bit too long-winded. But I thought it was a good joke. Yes, I might have stolen it from Road to Shore, but I thought it was a good joke. But surprise, surprise, it didn't get a response, and I don't blame her. Now, the final person to actually message this absolute abysmal Hinge profile was Kia. Now, I'm assuming Kia's a girl, and I haven't just been messaging the South Korean car manufacturer, but you never know. I'm not fussy. I'll go for anything at this point. To be honest, I really can't afford to be fussy. Anyway, Kia obviously listened to the voice note where I said about how great I am and this is where your Hinge profile peaked, because she said, have I actually hit the peak on my Hinge? And I had to let her down gently, you know, because it was true. It's not going to get any better than this. So I had to let her down gently. I just said, I'm afraid so. Matching with me is like what it was like for Prince Andrew after he did the interview with the BBC. It'll all be downhill from here. Now, to be fair, she actually replied to that. Loads of laughing crime faces. She loved that joke. She said, that's the best response I could have hoped for. Now, what can I say? I'm here to please. And to be honest, I quite like this girl's energy. I might keep messaging her. Who knows? It might go somewhere. I might be on the next train up to Manchester. Because hey, she thinks I'm funny. That's more than most people. So this one might have some potential. So there you go. Who'd have thought creating the most insufferable and worst Hinge profile you can possibly make doesn't mean you're going to get no matches. It might actually be more successful than your main account. Now, I know I keep going on about that, but that has really got under my skin. But it's fine. I'll go back. I'll assess my main account and maybe I'll throw in some of these photos because they quite clearly work better than my actual ones, don't they? But anyway, 7 matches on a profile as bad as that. I'll take it. It's not too bad. My self-esteem hasn't quite been as bruised as I thought it would be by the end of this video. And you know what? In my books, that's a success. So thanks for watching.